Hey there everybody, and welcome back to Sasquatch Speaks. This is Sasquatch, otherwise known as Gavisas, welcoming you all once again to this dark little corner of the internet. And today, I hate summer. Oh, I can't believe it. Why is it? I mean, literally, this just happened to me. That in the summer, I understand, like, the grass is growing and things like that, and everyone has their windows open because, you know, they don't want to have incredibly high electric bills from the air conditioning all the time. If you have air conditioning, thankfully we do. But it's not, like, really hot today, so it's not really necessary to have it on. However, so I have my window open. So, I have my window open, so it's a nice breeze coming in, and it's not too windy, so it's not interfering with anything. And I just sit down and getting ready to record this, and I push the record button, and immediately I hear it. Of course. Every lawnmower in the neighborhood starts at once and just making all sorts of racket noise. It's like, I understand the grass is growing right now, folks, but it's only 4:15. Shouldn't you all still be at work instead of, mowing the lawn in the middle of the afternoon when it's supposed to be quiet, so I can just kind of get my thoughts out on to the internet without any sort of distractions or loud background noises? But of course not. So that's just a little aside, not actually the topic for today. Today we will be picking up where we left off yesterday and launching into actually owning a dedicated gaming console. I don't know how interesting anyone is finding this, but hopefully it's not making anyone's ears bleed or anything like that. And of course, there's a school bus out there with a very loud, screechy brakes, which you may or not be able to hear. I know I talk about it a lot because I hear it very loudly in my setting, but it would appear that most of the sounds that I freak out about don't actually make it through the recording after I edit them out. Most of them. So hopefully it's not as loud to you as it is to me. But today, we're going to talk a little bit about. I think I was 8 years old or something like that. All my friends have been playing, Pokemon since they came out in like 96, and everyone, you get to school and every kid had their little Game Boy out, and I'm like, I'm still playing on my computer. And so it was an interesting point, and then finally I convinced my parents, hey, everyone else, it's the most cliche argument you could ever use to get anything at all. But for whatever reason, it worked. And I said, well, everyone else has one, and they're all playing this game, and it looks really cool, and I played it a couple times with some of my friends who were very generous and let me take out their Charizard or their Blastoise or whatever, and they let me battle a couple monsters. It's so cool, and I really love it. Can we please let me get one? And they're like, okay, your birthday's coming up, we'll get you one now. Yes, thank you so much. So, sure enough, actually, you know what? I think I got it for Christmas. And so for Christmas, '98, they give me a brand new Game Boy Color Pocket with of course, it's that really ugly turquoise green. I'm like, I don't care. It plays games, and of course they got me Pokemon Red, they got me Pokemon Blue. I got them both, and I'm playing them, and I got up and I beat the Elite Four in like 3 days, and I'm like, well, that didn't take very long. Restart and do it over again on both of them. Start trading Pokemon back and forth with my friends. Give them my copies of the game so I can get all my Pokemon on one thing. And of course, and those were the names of the Game Shark. And you just you plugged it in, you entered in the codes, and you could just have whatever Pokemon you wanted pop up at any place you wanted because cheat codes. I got my Mew and everything, and just it's so cool and having so much fun. Then I went on a little bit more, and I'm like, I've beat these entire games like 5-6 times a piece, like another one. Oh, that didn't go over real well. They're like, but you just spent, because you have to understand, gaming in general hasn't been like really, it's really big now. Pretty much everyone plays some form of game, or someone plays some form of game or another, or old people are playing like Bejeweled or whatever on their phones, or that their grandkids got for them or something. But gaming as an entire genre of art has only been around for about 30 or 40 years, and it only started to get really big in like the last 20 years. So, I mean, like really widespread, and everyone having something that could, or have access to something that could potentially play a game. So, when I said, like, hey, I want to get something, like, well, we have these old board games we've been playing for 40 years, and just the 3 or 4 of them that we have they're good enough. We don't need any more, right? I'm like, well, no, that's not quite how it works. Well, I guess that could. Okay, I'll take this back, because technically I am still playing some of those original Red and Blue games. I have a couple emulators and stuff that I play Pokemon Red and Blue on, or actually just Blue right now. And then then Crystal from the next one, and from the next series, and just to go back and kind of relive the past. But when you start telling people, like, hey, who have just lived in that world, where it's like, okay, well, we have a few games that we like, and we continue to like them for 50 or 60 years, why would we ever need anything else? And it's a more simplistic mindset, but if they're content, who cares? They've got what they want. They've got what they need. They don't need anything more. But I guess it's kind of a failing of our culture, really, that we've come to that point of being less content with things. It's kind of informing me a little bit about something about me. I'm like, oh, well, maybe I should be more content with the stuff that I have. And people are like, no, buy more games. You're missing out. And what's up? That's another story. We've already covered that topic. We're just going to move on from there. But okay, so when I'm like, okay, well, I want another game. I'm like, okay, well, so what do you want? So I convinced him to get me is the Rampage expansion. I don't remember what World Destruction, something like that. And it's just basically the old Rampage game, and they had like 3 new monsters. There was like a shark and a rhino and something else. I don't remember what the other thing was. And it was just Rampage. It was fun, and I played that for about a year, and I'm like, kind of want another game. They're like, really? Again? But it's kind of interesting that the more you get a game, or the more games you buy, the easier it is to buy more of them. As weird as that is, it's kind of like potato chips. You can never have just one. So you got the Game Boy, and you get the Army Men, and then it's like, wait a second. They're coming out with a new Game Boy, and everyone's like, no, back away. The pocketbooks are empty. You have your system. You have your 5 games. That's enough. You're good. You don't need any more. And it's like, well, no, because they have this thing here. It's called, like, the Game Boy Advance, and then there's games coming out for that I can't play on this one. And they're like, crap. And so you talk with him, you work it out, and he's like, okay, well, and again, at this point, I'm only like, I think I was like 10 or 12, so I didn't really have any money of my own per se. And so it was like anything that I was going to get was going to be through them. So, I'll get into what I did to get the GameCube tomorrow. But you pull some shenanigans to get what you want when you're that young, and you don't really have any other options to procure things. And thankfully my mother at least had a very good sense of humor about it. And my dad was just starting to get into computers. He still doesn't know anything at all. He knows less than I do, which is something to be terrified of. But when I got the game system, he's like, oh, okay, that's really cool. And so he got interested in it and wanted to get it for me specifically so that he could, try and figure out its computing properties, which I never let him do because I was terrified that he would break it, which he probably would have, as he's broken every computer that has ever been put under his control for any length of time exceeding like an hour. So that's a whole other story. We're not going to talk about that, but yes. And people are like, oh, so the broken computer makes more sense now. Got it. Anyway. So yeah, mobile gaming, just... I was mobile gaming before it was really known as mobile gaming. That's another term that's more recent than actually being like Game Boys and things like that, because At the time, it was just a game system. It was just smaller. They called them handheld systems or whatever. And there was no specific genre attached to it. It's just like, okay, well, this is a game that I play on this device, which is smaller than like your N64, your Sega Dreamcast, or PlayStation 1, or whatever it is. It was just a different form, not actually, a whole separate subsect all its own. It's kind of interesting because the approach to mobile gaming hasn't really changed in terms of consoles, but now that it's on like cell phones and things, it has changed because not just now there are certain games that they port over to like mobile devices as opposed to games. They have I saw a friend of mine, he was playing Injustice: Gods Among Us on his tablet, and I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of interesting. Didn't realize that was an option. Probably a failing on my part, not being up with the times and things like that, but it's interesting how most of the games that are created for those platforms have like a lesser quality to them, at least in my opinion. That's not to say that all of them are like that. There are certainly some very good games out there, and even like some really heavy, in-depth RPGs that are only for those mobile platforms. But I'm still of the mindset that I like, a fully fleshed out game with like the whole. Another thing that I'm really big on, which is probably kind of stupid in some regards, but I like to have physical copies of my games. I have downloaded a couple games, but generally when I get a new game, I like to have a physical copy of it. I don't know why. It might just be part of that old upbringing, the old style upbringing that I have, but I there's something about having it in your hands that's different than just like, okay, well, it's attached to this device that I already have. When you can like hold it in your hands, there's a tactile. I won't say bonding because that's really weird, but there's a tactile sense. Okay, this is mine. I have control over this, and even in a legal sense, it's different that way too. Because if you read your end user license agreement, you'll find out that most of those games that you've downloaded, you don't actually own those. Check it out because there are certain exceptions, but generally, when you download something, especially through Steam, is really bad about this. Steam maintains all rights to just at any point in the future they should decide to, they can remove all those games. They can remove your access to all those games that you've downloaded and are playing through their service because they still own them. You don't. I know it's kind of weird and it's kind of a rough thing to say, but check it out. Read it for yourself, and you will find I am correct. And I'm not sure about Nintendo's. Didn't actually read their end user license agreements, but I would assume it is something very, very similar in terms of download games. But if you have a hard copy, no one can ever take that away from you. I guess they could if they ran into your house and put a gun in your face and said, "Give me your game." Like, okay, well, I'd rather lose my game than my life, so sure, here you go. I don't know why you came here specifically to steal that, but that's your business. I won't even begin to postulate about that until after you've gone, so you don't shoot me, of course. Anyway, tangents. Love them tangents. Anyway, so you get I really need to stop saying that too. So you get... I've lost where I was. Tangents have ruined the moment. I'm so sorry. I think I was talking about mobile gaming and how the legitimate mobile gaming that comes through non-dedicated gaming platforms, mobile phones or tablets or things like that. Like I said, there's just a different feel to it. There's a different vibe that is attached to it. There's not that, I won't say sweaty basement smell, but kind of that sweaty basement smell where it's just like, the reason I'm playing this game is to absorb a grand portion of my time. Like Pokemon. I mean, it's since we're on the mobile phase here today, Pokemon, it's a time sink. if you're going to play that game to its fullest extent and collect all the Pokemon, especially nowadays, there's like 720 some odd Pokemon, if you're going to put in that sort of a time sink, then you're going to be there for a while, and I mean a long while, to try and collect them all and train them up and get all the moves. And the people who go and try and get perfect versions of all of them, I wish you all the best of luck. I will not be doing that ever, because I have other things I have to do. I won't say unfortunately, I'd say rather fortunately that I have other things to do than to try and get perfect versions of every Pokemon that ever was. But with most of them, like the mobile games now, most of those have a short replay time. I mean, like Angry Birds. You can get through a full level and be completed and done with it in about 2-3 minutes tops. There's no commitment of time. There's no commitment of purpose. It's just like, okay, well, I'm going to throw this bird at the tower. If it falls down, great. If not, oh well. I will either restart or I will go and find something else to do. Like I said, as opposed to, and even to the point where there's I think there's paid versions of Angry Birds. I don't know. I haven't played that game in years. Put my phone. Never mind. That's not a complaining thing. We're not going to complain today. Yes. But I haven't played that in years, so there may be a paid version of that now. I'm not sure. Excuse me. I have a bit of a tickle in my throat. But yeah, with Angry Birds, like there's no commitment of time. I mean, sure, I'm a completionist, so I try to get perfects on all the different levels, and I did of the version that I had, and then it's like, okay, well, that was fun. Let's do this again. Never really. I don't have any intention of ever downloading that game again because I got what I wanted out of it. There's nothing more that I feel I can get entertainment-wise. Again, I will not be entertained. There's nothing more I feel I can gain from playing that game, as opposed to the only mobile game I still have on my phone. Well, I guess I have an emulator on there as well. But the only mobile game I still have on my phone is called Robo Defender, and it's a tower defense game, but it has a mode on it where it changes the map, and you have to rework your towers and everything to make sure that the robot army doesn't get into your base. And that constant shifting and changing, it gives it tremendous replay value. There's something like 9,999 different maps just in one of the game modes, and I'm assuming there's an equal number of increasing levels of difficulty. And it's kind of like playing chess against yourself, except it's because you know where everything's going to go. You just have to try and figure out how to prevent it from getting there. It's, like I said, it's an incredibly engrossing game. I've put a lot of hours into playing it. And again, it's one of those completionist things where I'll replay a certain level until I get a perfect score on it, which is not actually tracked. It's just something that I know I did. And it's just sort of is one of those rewarding experiences when you can finally figure out the trick in the level as to how to prevent the little robot army from attacking your base and getting any of your health down and having all the proper towers in the proper places and destroying the Titan and all that sort of fun stuff, which is not at all what I intended to start out speaking about today in terms of Game Boys, but I suppose that's pretty much par for the course. Basically, kind of trying to wrap this up. Game Boy, or the Nintendo handheld systems, the entire line of them going back to, like I said, the Game Boy Color Pocket, has really been like my first experience, my first introduction to dedicated gaming systems, and to that end, by that extension, it has carried over into my my console buying in terms of, more powerful systems and the whole 9 yards in terms of like home gaming setups and things like that. And even a large part of my philosophical approach to how games ought to be. I enjoy pretty looking graphics, but they're not the end all be all. And I think a big part of my my take on that, for that being my perception, is because I've been playing on Nintendo systems, and that's kind of their thing. It's like, hey, yeah, we can give you, the pretty graphics, but we'd rather spend the time, the effort, and the money to make the gameplay better, which generally, not the generally, but generally, they deliver on that very well. I mean, they have the Metroid games, and like I said, Pokemon is probably one of the... It seems so childish and simplistic, but it really is probably one of the best role-playing games out there, just in terms of replay value and variety of characters and how you can choose to set up your team. I don't know, I've never heard of any other RPG ever where you could have over 100, I mean, just going off the first one, where you could have over 100 different characters in your team. And I understand that you're the only character, they're just, tools and things like that, but the 100 different play styles or speed versus defense and all attack, and it's just so many different stats called to come together. It's an incredibly in-depth game that they have done and are continuing to do a spectacular job of building on and maintaining. So it's something that will probably continue to play. I'm not really sure if I'm going to get Omega Red and Alpha Sapphire, I think is the way that goes. It could be the other way around. I apologize if I'm wrong. But yeah, I think that's where I'll end it. Give a nice little kudos to Nintendo for making good gameplay. Like I said, their graphics aren't always the best. I will say this, that Mario Kart 8 is probably the best looking, no, it's not probably, it is the best looking game on the Wii U at the moment, and congratulations to them for that. And the gameplay on that is very spectacular. I've already put probably like 70, 80, maybe 100 hours into it. I haven't really checked. But it's a testament to them that they not only were able to capture me at a young age in terms of gaining my business and sort of enlivening my imagination and to like step into their world, but also to be able to maintain that for almost 20 years now. I think little less than 16 years since I first got my original Game Boy. So yeah, congratulations to them. And congratulations to all of you for making it to the end of the video. If you enjoyed the video, liked it yourself, please leave a like rating down below. Leave me a comment, tell me a little bit about your first console gaming experience. And if you didn't like it, leave a dislike rating down below. Tell me to go and do some... play better games or get the graphics, man. Get the graphics. Yeah, I don't know. I don't care. Anyway, thank you all for stopping by. Hope you all did enjoy. I will see you all next time. Goodbye.